Yeah, you can live stream it as well. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Namaste to all of you. A very warm welcome to this evening's call. Friends, this is the 65th call that we have been doing in the last 2 months. And with all your support, this has been a wonderful journey that we had in the face of very painful lockdown, the whole civilization, the whole humanity is facing. We thank you for that. And then we've had some lovely talks all this while. And we had some very eminent people coming and talking on our Zoom calls. We are thankful to all of them. And today we have, you know him. I mean, I don't need to introduce him. Vivek Agnihotri ji is here today. We are all so proud of him, right? Of course, he's known for, you know, the Buddha in a traffic jam movie that he did on Urban Naxals. And he's a champion on Urban Naxals. The whole concept of Urban Naxal is something which he created and popularized it. And Pragya Bharati, along with Indic Talks, we had done his book launch in Hyderabad a few months back. And currently he is, you know, working on some projects regarding Kashmir and also about Subhash Chandra Bose. We all know what his works are in terms of Tashkent Files and, you know, wonderfully bringing out the secrets which are otherwise sought to be hidden. So we are very happy to have him. Briefly, I'll just take a minute to explain our organization for those of you who are new. Pragya Bharati is an intellectual thinkers forum, which has been founded 28 years back by Dr. Hanuman Chaudhary, Padma Shri Awardee, and Ram Madhav ji, B.S. Sharma ji, and 2 more stalwarts, Vakadir Panduranga Rao Garu and Harihara Sharma. This was supposed to provide a nationalistic outlook in the intellectual field, which was otherwise being captured by people who give themselves certificates of liberal and you know whatnot. So the narrative in the intellectual field was getting hijacked. So to provide a nationalistic and true narrative, this forum was created. We run a monthly magazine by name Bharatiya Pragya. I request all of you to kindly subscribe to it. Please also like, share, and subscribe our social media assets: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And also, please do write to us on our email IDs. Friends, you know, Vivek ji is, while he is in the film industry, he is more a nationalistic activist and who's doing wonderful service in terms of exposing the forces that are inimical and the forces that are working against Bharat. He doesn't need any introduction. I think I've given a brief introduction about him. Today he's going to talk about New World, Youth, and India's success. So New World, as you all know, world is going to completely change post this Chinese Wuhan coronavirus. We have never called it COVID. We have never called it by any other name. We are going to name and shame China. It is Chinese Wuhan coronavirus. They need to take responsibility for what they have done. And we're going to have a new world order. And the youth, so disconnected from most of our narrative, they seem to be completely lost out on what is Bharat. Their roots are gone. But then they had a time to reboot in the last 2 months. And hopefully we're going to see some changes in the days to come ahead. But we do have significant challenges. And we would hear from Vivek ji in terms of what's happening to them and what's the road ahead. And in a changed world, what's the role of youth with regard to Bharat? Vivek ji, the floor is yours.
Namaskar. I really feel grateful that you invited me for 2 reasons. Number one, I have deep respect for Pragya Bharati because in my social life in last 5-6 years, some of the best people I have met belong to your organization. I have deep respect for Nand Kumar ji, for all of you. In India, when I was growing up, just as a disclaimer, I'll discuss it a little further, but I grew up as my father, my mother, both were freedom fighters and very strong nationalists, both spent many years in jail. But it somehow happened when I was growing up post-emergency, The entire education system was taken over by the communist people. So I also, like many misguided youth, I also grew up as a leftist and later on in college life as a Naxal. We'll discuss this. I'll come to that later. But I always met certain kind of people who I thought were intellectuals. But later on, when I was not misguided, when I self-realized and I understood that the purpose of my life is now to serve for my country and for the culture, the great civilization, after that I met totally different kind of people. And these, most of them were from, a lot of them were from RSS, some very simple middle-class Indians who have no politics but basically nationalists. And then I started meeting people who were intellectuals, genuine intellectuals. But they were never celebrated and recognized in this country as intellectuals. Because we always thought that intellectuals are those who wear suit and speak Oxford English, and people who are always talking about the negativity, or people who are talking about the ills of the society, who are always pointing out at mistakes of the society. I also grew up in that. So I have deep respect for all the intellectuals, because being an intellectual is not enough. Being an intellectual with values is what actually matters. You can be an intellectual with no values, so what? Even a computer is an intellectual without values. Google is an intellectual without values. Wikipedia is an intellectual without values. All these things have all the knowledge of the earth. You want to know about Freud, they will tell you. A computer will do any equation, it will tell you, new theory it will give you. In some time, artificial intelligence is going to have all the consciousness of the world stored in it, the so-called consciousness by the Western world. What is the point of that intellect? The real intellect is when it has values. And value not something as we call ki sanskar seekh, or not that. Not just the values which you have learned from your parents, from your society, from your country, from your history, but the intellectualism which adds value to the society. Intellectualism which adds value to the lives of the people. And this kind of intellectualism is tested only in a crisis. A person can appear to be wonderful, beautiful. The earth can be very still, silent. Trees can be tall and erect. A forest can be dense. Only when there is a tornado or a cyclone, the strength of the tree is tested. Only in bad times, the character of a human being is tested. Similarly, the character of an organization is tested only when there is a crisis. We always see that RSS emerges as one of the best volunteers, Seva Bhav, in floods, in earthquakes. Even now they are doing a great job. But I want to confess, I want to admit, and I want to tell, I propagate it also amongst my circles, inner circles. And I have been observing it, though I have come today, but since all the invitations come to me, and I know what is happening with the organization. And I have seen that for almost, 40, 50 days, you guys, or 60 days, I think, non-stop, you are trying to fill the universe with good thoughts, positive thoughts, valuable thoughts. You have, in last 5-6 years, you have been able to change the perception of people that yes, a scientist can have a tika, a tilak. Because so far, the definition of intellectuals in the so-called leftist world was that authors are intellectuals, painters are intellectuals, musicians are intellectuals, media people are intellectuals. We never ever thought that people who do social service are also intellectuals, scientists are also intellectuals, engineers can also be intellectuals, doctors are also intellectuals. I have never seen in the intellectual meets before this that a doctor or an entrepreneur can also be called an intellectuals. Once I had gone to Nagpur, and when I was introduced to a whole lot of intellectuals, and I found most of them were, some was veterinary doctor, somebody was a scientist, somebody was an entrepreneur. And then I said that the way you define intellectualism is definitely remarkable. So I want to congratulate you, thank you, and I wish you all the best. Whatever you are doing, keep doing it. Never before this world has needed this kind of intellectual service which adds value to the society. Now I would...
Vivekji, if I can just tell you, Vasuji, who is the Pranta Seva Pramukh, is also on the call today here. He has done some wonderful service in terms of providing succor to people, migrants and people homeless and others. The Seva Bharati of Telangana has done some just amazing work. He's also on the call today listening to you, sir.
Namaskar. Namaskar. So I am fully aware, few days ago, I was running, when this crisis came, I immediately went into the social service mode. And what can I do? I can't make films. I don't have enough money to feed thousands and thousands of people, nor I have the infrastructure. At that time, I said, what should I do? How can I serve the society? And I realized that the most important thing which I could do was, according to great Indian tradition, once Shri Manmohan Vaidyaji had told me this, and I was very impressed with that thought. He said, knowledge, according to Indian tradition, has no copyright. Knowledge, not the created, not the book or something, knowledge. And I said, this is time for me to spread this knowledge, teach people, educate people so that people can use these 2-3 months in a productive manner. So we started a festival called the Future of Life Festival, where we invited lots of intellectuals, good people. In one of the sessions, I specially kept a session called RSS and Seva, and where I defined for people that the Western world believes in philanthropy, and philanthropy simply means charity, which is like daan, giving money to people and clearing your own guilt. But the Seva is something else. The whole concept of Seva is ki Seva ki bhasha maun hoti hai. The language of Seva is silence. And that's how we redefined this and told the young people what Seva means. Now I would like to come to the subject I want to talk about. I want to talk about, sometime in January, when I understood that the problem is going to be serious before the world took the notice of this, I started on all my social platforms something called entering into a new world. And I kept telling people that we are entering a new world, and there are very, very high chances, as if the divine has designed it for India, there is a greatest opportunity for India like never before to emerge not just as a world leader, but what everybody's ambition and vision is, especially mine. It's my deep desire that in my lifetime, India should get its due. The great Bharati tradition should get what it deserves. That is, again, to become the knowledge center of the world. When in my last 5-6 years of research, when I was researching on cultural genocide by Urban Naxals, I read many, many texts, original texts. And especially in last 2 years, when I was doing the research for Kashmir, my film, The Tashkent Files, I got to study very deeply Shaivism. I got to study about Abhinav Gupta. I got to study Natya Shastra. I got to study, in fact, I have not once but 2-3 times different texts on Patanjali's yoga, not the modern fashionable yoga, but the real Patanjali's yoga, which is a philosophy and not just a physical exercise. Actually, it's got nothing to do with physical exercise. And when I was studying Patanjali, what actually appeared to me, that in those times, we studied and analyzed human anatomy, exactly what is inside a human body. how the human body functions, what are the organs in our body, the whole concept of pran, the breath, and above all, the greatest of the sage for me is God. Patanjali understood the functioning of the mind, which the Western world understood only in this century. Only because of Freud, they understood that there is an unconscious mind and conscious mind and how it works. But thousands of years ago, Patanjali, on living body, without cutting them, without cutting the mind and experimenting it, we understood the whole concept of the chit and the vritti. And how to control this mind, become the driver of our lives. And how to ultimately understand this entire mystery of the cosmos and become one and self-actualize ourselves in order to be enlightened, in order to find liber mukti from the superficial materialistic things. Now, this entire science of understanding the body was discovered just only in this century, just few hundred years ago, by the Western world. And how? By cutting the body. What they understand about human beings, human body, is by experimenting on dead bodies. Our understanding of life is on experimenting on live bodies, living human beings. That is the fundamental difference between us and them. Because our understanding of human beings and life is on living beings without cutting them. They understand the world on dead bodies, and therefore our philosophies are living and dynamic philosophy, and their philosophies are dead philosophy. And that is the difference, that when we started the whole philosophy, Indian thought, various branches, you say Advaita or Vedantic or whatever you want to, Charva, whatever you want to call it, but ultimately the source is the same. The whole source of Indian wisdom, the great wisdom, if you see, has always been a dynamic process, which is why we did not write our texts. Because the general belief was that when the thought process is transferred from year to year, it's a dynamic living body. When I talk to you, it's a living discourse. There's a life in this discourse. Also, it gives you a little scope and freedom to interpret, visualize in your own way. And with the generations, you keep correcting it through discourse, debates, what is called Shastra, and you keep reforming the thought as per the needs and the times as we evolve. Whereas, if you see the entire Western thought and the philosophy, be the Christianity, these are very recent things, just 2000 years ago, but the old, I'm talking from the Greek time, or the Roman and all, before when the pagan civilizations were there. If you look at that, they were always very fond of writing down everything, cataloging everything, and that's how the thought was made dead. The thought became static. And this whole concept of lakir ka fakir, this is correct. And which is why you see the whole concept of pratyaksh and the fact is very different. Because I'm going into little detailed Indian philosophy for the simple reason, because what I'm approaching now, the new world, is based on that. So in our philosophy, it was not only drashya and darshak, which means not just the observed and the observer, the scene, the scenario and the viewer. What West did was that today you look at it, the entire globalized world, the entire social media world. Drashya and darshak, there is no difference. Darshak has become drashya and drashya has become darshak. Everybody has become a performer. Everybody is performing in order to get more likes and more hits and more audience. That's what the globalized world has done. The Western thought has done. We have started documenting each and everything, and we said, this is pratyaksh, this is correct. What you are seeing, the tree. But in our philosophy, if you see, the concept was always of maybe, it depends. And which is why when our philosophy traveled in the eastern part of the world, even in Japan and China, they have still this whole concept of mu, which means that every question does not have to have an answer yes and no. There is a state between yes and no, and which is as true as yes and no, and we were never a binary society. And which is why our literature and our culture was so rich in nuances. If you read Kalidas, you'll be surprised. Look at Natya Shastra. Let me give you a simple example quickly before I come to the real theme. But it is important to understand who we are. Now, Natya Shastra is the world's first science about performance and performers. Now, Natya Shastra is the only science which talks about how to lighting, how to do makeup, how to do hair, what to do. And it uses three concepts of ras, rang and manch. Now, if you, and patra, sorry, patra means character. Ras means the emotions. And the rang means the context. It's tragic, or it is humor, or it is anger. Now, you tell me, what has theater got to do? What has storytelling got to do with ras? Ras is something from the kitchen. When you squeeze the lemon, you squeeze the orange, then you get ras. What has rang got to do with it? Rang actually is in your kitchen. The vegetables are red and green and yellow and white. Nowhere in the world, even the Greek theater, the great Greek theater, the great Roman theater, the great Shakespearean British, nowhere they gave these things, which means then Muni Vyas, he picked, Bharat Muni picked up these references from his own home, from the kitchen. And patra are those pots in which you keep achar and dhania and namak and all those spices. And because the characters in storytelling are full of spices, different spices, that's why he called them patra. Every rang, every ras of every fruit has a different effect on your body and on your mood. That's why he called it ras. And when you see a certain color in your kitchen, the red chili, or when you see green chili, there is a totally different context to the food. The taste changes, and that's why I call it rang. That was such depth in our understanding of this science. So we never had this concept of that the scene becomes the performer, performer becomes scene. We had something above that. So we had drashya, darshak, and above all, we had something called drishta. Drishta is the self-observer, somebody who has a dialogue, internal dialogue. And he said, this is spiritualism. This is enlightenment. When you are neither the scene nor you are the performer, but you are the observer of the truth of the world without being impacted by it, without being affected by it. That's when you reach that divine cosmos, and that's when you understand the ultimate truth. And which is why you see in India, I talk to everybody in US, UK, Germany, my friends are there. I am doing music with some Italian composer. They are very scared. The only thing they are talking about is, ab kya hoga? Kaise hoga? How will we earn money? What will happen to my car? What will happen to my house? And in India, we are running for last 60 days, these intellectual discourses. Everybody says, jo hoga, acha hoga. Something good will come out of it. And we are ambitious, and America is thinking that they will decline. This is the end of America. China is thinking it's the end of China. Italy, the great Roman civilization, they are thinking this is the end of the world. People are fighting with each other. Yesterday in America, there were fire, arson, looting, they were killing police. But we are sitting with our children, our families, and we are thinking that how we take our philosophy. We are talking about adhyatma, we are talking about yoga, we are talking about family, we are talking about values. We are trying to hold on all those things which we lost because of Western globalization. We are trying to go back to all those things which we lost because of communist leftist cultural genocide against India. And that's why I say a new world order is emerging, a new world is emerging, and this new world, the leadership will have to be taken by India, and no other country has either the potential, understanding, wisdom, or the desire to take that leadership. And I have full conviction and reasons to believe that we will emerge as intellectual leaders in the world, and I'll tell you why. Before I come to new world, let's understand the old ancient world. Kashmir alone has produced almost most of the knowledge we have in this country. There is a reason why Shankaracharya walked on foot and went to Kashmir to meditate and to understand about the world. There is a reason why Rishi Kashyap walked on his feet for years and from the south, and he went to Kashmir and he went there. There is a reason why Kalidasa traveled all the way and went to Kashmir. There's a reason why Abhinav Gupta did whatever he did there. There is a reason why that the Patanjali's yoga and the Ayurveda was discovered over there. When everybody finished their study in most of the Vidyapeeths, be it Kashi or in South or in East or West, for the highest studies, when the study was over, when we had to just sit, meditate and be enlightened, people went to Kashmir because Kashmir was the knowledge center of India. It was because this was the only place which had Sharda Vidyapeeth. There, that's where the Saraswati's abode was there. That's where the Shiva's abode was there. Kashmir, today's don't go by today's Kashmir. When we see today's Kashmir, the image which comes in our mind is something else. We see it as isolated from India, but it was the forehead of India. It was the brain and the mind of India, and all the best of the brains. All the best of the brains, they went there, and when they studied there, they were called Pandits. Pandit, they were not called Brahmins. Even a Brahmin went there and became a Pandit. Pandit means an expert like nobody else. There is only, and that's why Kashmir became the knowledge center of India. I call it the Silicon Valley of the first millennium. And which is why everybody came to loot Kashmir. If you see, all the invasions also happened via Kashmir. The Kashmir's knowledge, Kashmir means India, obviously. Our knowledge was so widespread, the yoga, the Ayurveda, the musicology, Shashtri, the entire medical science was discovered over there, invented over there. Everything which we know today, most of it came from India. We were the knowledge center of the world. Nobody ever invades a poor village. Nobody invades. Nobody loots a poor village. What do you invade? A locker in a bank, a rich man's house. That's why everybody came to invade and loot us. There was no other country where they went to loot and invade. From China, they came here, Mongols. The Roman people came here. The Turks came here. Tamurlang came here. From everywhere, people came to loot this country. And because we were not very politically aggressive, we were not very politically shrewd, we were always doing our own thing. We were like many trees in a forest co-growing. And which is why we slowly started losing this battle, because we had no strategy against these invaders and looters. And I am also very sorry to say it, I am very disappointed to say this. If there was no RSS, I can guarantee, I have reasons to, I can prove it in not one but 10 books. If there was no Hindu thought involved, I can guarantee India would have been broken by now into 100 pieces, because that was the strategy of communists. That's what they wanted to do. And which is why post-independence, sometime in early 60s, when after Shastri ji's mysterious death in Tashkent, when Indira Gandhi took over, exactly the same time when Indira Gandhi took over, China waged a proxy war against India in the name of Naxalism, exactly almost 66, if you can see. And which is why when the first Naxal attack took place in Naxalwadi in Bengal, it happened early in the morning. China, sun rises in China a couple of hours before us. In China's main newspaper, the headline was that Indian peasants rebel against the state, something like that. Not exact word translation, but this is what it meant. But the rebellion took place 2 hours after that, 3 hours after that. How was that possible? I've written in my book, Urban Naxals. How is that possible? And I'm surprised that nobody for 50, 60 years in this country ever questioned this. This war was waged, and for last 60 years, this war is going on in some way or the other. Then, in Kashmir, so from one hand, the red terrorists waged a proxy war against India. On the other hand, the Islamic terrorists waged another war from the western border of India through Kashmir. In fact, in the rest of the country, partition has ended. But I am sorry to tell you, in Kashmir, the partition never ever ended. When my film comes, everybody, even the people who know Kashmir very well, will be shocked and surprised that in this war in Kashmir, our own people have been participants and partners in that. And as an honest Indian, as a dedicated, committed India, it brings tears in my eyes. My heart breaks down that our own people all my life who I believed in, all the great, some of the, not all, some of the great leaders, intellectuals, authors, media people, academicians who I grew up reading and who I was so proud of, and I thought that they are great Indians. Actually, I realized that most of them were partners in this Islamic terrorism against India. Now, in last 10, 15 years, after the Babri Masjid, before I come to that, in 1970s, 74, around the emergency time when Indira Gandhi was not getting support from rest of the parties, Morarji Desai, Janata Dal and all that happened, Indira Gandhi needed support. So she sought support from the Communist Party, and in exchange, the education cultural department was bartered and it was given to them. Which is why you will see there's a cutoff line. I would want somebody to research it. There's a cutoff line. If you read Indian education books pre-70s and post-70s, you will find a remarkable difference, because when I was studying books, there was mention of lots of great Indian scholars, great Indian kings, great Indian traditions. I was taught about Saraswati, I was taught about great people of India. But by the time in the 80s, if you see, most of the students who have grew up have no context of India. In fact, most of the people don't even know about Hampi or Vijayanagara or Chola dynasty, or all they know is Akbar, Jahangir, Babar and Aurangzeb, and they know only about Ashoka, maximum Maharana Pratap and Shivaji, because they are politically very advertised and politically everybody uses them a lot. Besides that, nobody knows anything. The younger generation doesn't know the importance of Lokmanya Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, or the people Madan Mohan Malvi, or the Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, the great scholar who translated Gita. People don't know about Raja Rajgopalachari, about these greatest of the people in freedom movement. Nobody knows. We have reduced freedom movement only to Gandhi and Nehru and nobody else, which is why in my film Tashkent Files, there's a very important dialogue. If you have not seen it, somebody speaks a dialogue in that and he says, "Ye satya aur ahinsa ka desh hai, ye Nehru aur Gandhi ka desh hai." One young girl says, "Shashtri ji ka kyun nahi?" Because we have forgotten our own legacy. Then the third stage, what happened, when after Vajpayee ji's Sarkar, when Sonia Gandhi ji took over, because she was an incompetent leader, Sonia Gandhi has been the most incompetent leader in the 70 years of Indian freedom, because she doesn't understand politics, she has no idea of history, she doesn't connect with people, she knows nothing about India, she can't speak the language, and she has no love or passion for India. You can be a corrupt person, you can be a not very knowledgeable person, but you can have love. Like my grandmother was not educated, my mother was also not educated, but their love for the country was immense. So love for the country and education and intellectualism has got nothing to do with each other. But unfortunately, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi had neither love for the country nor the understanding of the country. So she thought that, yes, I have to understand the country. So she said, give me a list of people who can educate me. And she brought all the people who were proteges of her mother-in-law, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and she created a coterie around her, which is called IAC or something, Indian, some advisory committee. She used to run off some 20-30 people. If you look at the faces of all those people, they are full of Yogendra Yadavs and Prashant Bhushans. Sorry, I'm taking name to give you a reference. All of them, Indira Jaisingh or whatever, I don't know, Jairat, but all Naxalites, all proven communists. In fact, because of my book, when the Urban Naxalism became a movement and the government took notice of that, I apprised the Home Minister then, Rajnath Singh ji, and Prime Minister ji. I went, everybody I met and told them personally about all these things, the Chief Minister of Maharashtra. And after that, you see then the Prime Minister, everybody started using the term Urban Naxal, and 5 Urban Naxals were arrested in Bhima Koregaon plot. Then she started patronizing all the NGOs. These NGOs, all of you know what was the purpose of these NGOs. They were missionaries and disguised as NGOs. Where are those NGOs today when there is such a big crisis? People are dying left, right, and center. Most of the NGOs are for public service. Where are they? Where have they disappeared today? If they were really NGOs, besides RSS, you tell me, Akshay Patra, most of them you'll find are related to Indian nationalist feeling. Where are all these missionary NGOs? They are killing sadhus in Palghar. Those sadhus in Palghar, when they were killed, I was the first person to say that this is an act of these Naxals because they use the abandoned churches as their headquarters in that area. I know it is well researched, and they are, besides this, then everybody, the Maharashtra state government came after me. They sent their police to my house to arrest me, that you delete these tweets, you can't say that. But after some time, their own police found out in their report that yes, behind that they were all Naxal and Maoists and leftist people were there. Sonia Gandhi, as the Commander-in-Chief of India for 10 years, morally, ethically, emotionally, and administratively supported the people who were the soldiers of a cultural and civilizational genocide against the great Indian culture and civilization. I have no shame in saying that, and my book was supposed to come in March, April, now it's coming very soon, once the lockdown and everything is over. But I am writing another book which is on the cultural genocide of India. And we slowly started making the entire new generation of millennials believe as if the entire knowledge which has come in this country is because of the great Mughal empires, because of the great British Empire, and all the intellectual work which has been done in last 60, 70 years has been done by the communist ideologues, by the communist media, by the communist authors, communist painters. And that is the reason today you will find that in the Mumbai Bollywood film industry, in the cultural ministry, in the Lalit Kala academies, in all the art, culture, education, everywhere, these people are so deeply established that the new generation doesn't even understand that this country was the first Silicon Valley. And if the youth participates, if the youth starts believing in us, we will again become the new Silicon Valley, the knowledge center of the world. The whole world will come to us. People will forget China. My children, where my parents dedicated their entire life for Indian culture, spent their lives in jails fighting for freedom, then for emergency. I have spent most of my life now in doing all these things. My children went to one of the best Indian value-based Gujarati school in Bombay. You'll be surprised to know that they don't even know that when all the civilizations of the world perished, we are the only civilization which survived. My children didn't know that. That is the education system we have created. America with 200-300 years of modern freedom, जैसे तो 400-year-old. America calls itself great, says we are the greatest country in the world. I ask, on what parameters? Define the parameters. Do you have a family system? No. Do your children look after their parents? No. Do you have a society? No. Do you know your neighbors? No. What do? We kill animals, we kill cows, we kill human beings. On what basis you are the greatest country in the world? Okay, rich and famous, I understand. Innovation, because innovation, you get the best of the brains, you buy them out, you take them to your country, and that's why you say innovator. Most of the innovations are done by Indian people, especially from South India. If you take out somebody, I was in US just few months ago, and I was sitting one of the greatest of the scholars there, and he actually proved it to me. He said, if you take out the contribution of South Indian intellectuals in America, most of their science and technology will go bankrupt. I don't know how true it is, but he actually had a list of people, not only the CEOs, but the people who are involved in the processes from India also, the back end also. The contribution of in America's success is also largely from India. Anyway, so we are today intellectually challenged because the future of this country is not in our hands. The future of this great civilization is in the hands of the millennials who are learning everything from Google or Wikipedia or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. You have to understand, I did a recent research on Instagram. It took us 6 to 7 months. Instagram is called an artistic hub. If you want good paintings, modern photography, if you want poetry, if you want to know about culture, literature, you go to Instagram. Instagram is not tu meme political fight. And Instagram is the most popular amongst the teenagers, the millennials. Now, Instagram, 90% of Indian, whatever is there about Indian art and culture is written by the Western people. Our media and the activists, especially people like Pragya Bharati and RSS, these people don't know anything about Instagram. You will be outraged. You will die out of shame the way our great motives, the great iconic people are portrayed, our goddesses and our gods are portrayed over there. And it is really shameful that neither the cultural ministry, not the education ministry, and not the stalwarts of our government ever take notice of these things. On one hand, they win all the votes on the name of Indian cultural and civilization. But on the other hand, for 6 years, I am without any mincing my words, I am saying, I am disappointed as far as the culture and the civilizational war, the role of our ministry is concerned. After 6 years in the Bollywood film industry, people like Vivek Agnihotri and Anupam Kher and the people who are nationalistic and who raise voice and make meaningful cinema about the great Indian art and culture are totally isolated and thrown out of the industry, and they have to struggle for pennies, every single penny. Whereas the people who are making films, things like Patal Lok and all, they are celebrated even by our own ministries. Why? Because all the babus sitting over there, all the young IAS officers sitting over there have no idea. A young IAS officer who joins, he's 30, 35 years old, he's given a charge of, okay, you conduct the International Film Festival in Goa. I have been member of the jury, so I know all the young people go there. You run business, it's not very important for us. Do you realize that hundreds of countries come over there and they see movies? There was let me just illustrate so that you understand what is going on in this country. Last year, IFFI, I'm sure you must have heard about IFFI, Indian Film Festival in Goa. IFFI is one of the 10 most important film festivals of the world. I was the chairman of international jury. the most of the jury consisted of all the radical leftist filmmakers. And one of the films which was selected to be showcased to the international media and the international filmmakers who are the opinion builders about India and the rest of the world, that film was called Sexy Durga. It's a Malayalam film. I am also on the board of directors of CBFC. And I realized, I said CBFC had asked them to drop the name Sexy. And still calling it Sexy Durga is a criminal act. No questions asked, there is no bail, is unbailable offense. You will go behind the bars after the certification, if you still call it. But when I saw the posters were saying Sexy Durga, the whole publicity was Sexy Durga. I raised a very serious doubt on that. At that time, the wonderful young leader was the Ministry of INB, our Smriti Irani. So I raised objection to that. But the entire jury, the panel, 90% people were leftists. Our own government had appointed them. What do I do? How do I fight them? And the voting is by majority. So early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I was very disturbed when we saw the film. First of all, that film has nothing, neither to do anything with Durga, nor anything to do with Sexy. Nothing. It has absolutely nothing. It's like you make a story of a plant or a story of a tree. It's about a couple, they run away from home and somebody gives them a ride and they're just going and then they keep talking and things happen. It's got nothing to do. Even the heroine's name is not Durga. But just to sensationalize, just to project in the Western world, to win awards in the Western world, they did this very, very sad thing. And I said, I will not let it happen. And we had a major showdown. I had a major fight and arguments. And I said, okay, we will hold on to the decision till tomorrow morning. As the chairman of this jury, I'll just give a decision tomorrow. Yes, there's a majority. You are on that side. I know that there's no way I can stop the screening of this film, but I will take a call tomorrow morning. First thing in the morning, I called up Smriti Irani ji and I said, this is the problem. I need your permission because I am confident that CBFC has asked them to remove this. The certification does not have this name. I want to check it if you allow me. She said, okay, you have my support. I immediately called my chairman, Mr. Prasun Joshi ji, and within half an hour we checked it and it was illegal. It was against the law, and within no time, the criminal offense was registered against them and I stopped the screening of that film. But the problem is, one Vivek Agnihotri, and after that, one Vivek Agnihotri cannot fight all these people who are making such derogatory thing about our own culture, our own civilization. Yes, I understand there is a caste issue in this country. I understand there is a problem of property, but it does not mean that you start painting the entire civilization as bad civilization so that the younger generation, even your children and my children, don't take pride in talking about this. All these people who are practicing filmmakers don't know anything about Natya Shastra. So I think we are entering a new world. And this new world is not going to be the way things used to happen earlier. I'll tell you what this new world will celebrate. What will be the valuable things? What are the values new world will have? And all these values will be exactly Indian, the great Bharatiya values. If we do not start copywriting them, if all of us, whoever is present and listening to me right now, if everybody does not start ownership of all these things, trust me, I am going to read out the list of some values. All these values will be capitalized by the West. And again, we will lose this war because the communist lobby is hell-bent that India does not get the advantage of Ayurveda, meditation, yoga, family system, the close-knit society, helping each other, the seva bhav. They are fully aware of it. I don't know how many of you know about it. Okay. In the old world, pre-COVID world, being successful meant being rich and famous. The status symbol was you can be a 150 kilogram person But if you have a Mercedes and BMW, you were considered rich and famous. Even if you were a corrupt person, didn't matter. But in the new world, the new status symbol will be health. Before employing, already in the Western corporates, they have already decided, and the new employment, when they are employing a new person, the first criteria is whether you have a high immunity, are you a healthy person or not. Because nobody wants to invest many dollars in educating, training people who are going to be sick after some time. This is a Bharatiya concept. That's why the whole concept of brahmacharya was there. That's why Vivekananda insisted so much on making your body physically strong, which is why RSS continues that tradition of being physically strong. This is our time to put a copyright on that. And this copyright will be done by all the youth. And I request you with the folded hands, tell your children, tell all the young people who are associated with Pragya Bharati to take a copyright on this issue, that this whole concept of Ayurveda, Satvik Bhojan. Now the entire world, the beef eaters of America are discussing about Satvik Bhojan. Non-spicy. The food does not make you very uttejit. The food which calms you down. The food which has a sheetal, cool effect on your body. They don't know what is Satvik Bhojan. All that is coming into fashion. This is becoming a status symbol. Only a few days ago, I was talking to some friends of mine, and they said that now when we order the food, the first thing, Americans, the first thing they are considerate about is how much oil is there, no oil, nothing. And I am telling you, within no time, within 3-4 years, the Satvik Bhojan will become a brand name in the world. People will make millions and millions of dollars out of it. So we need to capitalize in it. And that's why I say the role of youth in building a new India and a new world is very important. Second thing is trust. The biggest human trait is trust. The entire Western concept of success was based on mistrust. By not trusting people. Only by contracts. Writing everything down to the last detail. And for everything go to court. I'll sue you, I'll sue you, I'll sue you. Look at how we conducted business for 10,000 years. By mouth of word. I know this person, I trust you, I'll do it for you. Ours is a trust-based society. This is a great Indian value. And which is why you will find, I always say in my speeches, that wherever Indians are there for thousands and thousands of years, wherever Indians are in the foreign land, like people say British people are very snobbish, French people are very snobbish, and Chinese are negotiators, German are very conjuice, whatever the stereotypes are about Indians, everywhere in the world, every single country, they say we can trust Indians. This is our inherent trait. What we call sadbhav, what we call shraddha and vishwas. We need to capitalize on this. We need to write about this great Indian quality, which is born, which has been invented, discovered by Indians. Everything, if you see in Indian philosophy, Indian society, Indian social science is based on trust. Third thing are values. Anything minus values has no meaning in the modern world. You must have realized that in lockdown, when all the families are listening to songs, singing songs, what are they singing? They are singing those songs which have got some message of values. Everybody is posting pictures, talking to their mothers and nannies and dadis and uncles, people who they have learned values from. They are not posting pictures of their friends, young friends and all. All the Indian things we are going back to, people are dadi ka nuksa, dadi's recipe, nani's recipe. We don't understand how values function. So it is very important that we bring the old, proven, fundamental value where all the economy is going to depend, which is Sada Jivan Uch Vichar. I hope you understand the meaning. Sada Jivan Uch Vichar means simple living, high values. And if you see all the pracharaks of RSS, you'll find exactly the same. They have 2 slippers and 2-3 kurta pajamas, and they just do social service. So it is very important to understand that in the new world, people are already discussing simple living. Only buy what you need. Don't buy more than what you need. Don't spend more than you're earning. Earn as much so that you are left with 5 or 10 paisa every day to help the society. And have higher thinking, because when you have a high thinking, then you are not thinking only about yourself. You are thinking about the society, about the family, the society, and the world as a whole. You think about the prakriti. You think about the nature. You think about the ecology. And today this entire crisis is because human beings stopped thinking about the ecology and the world and the cosmos. Then the next is about cooperation, sahyog. We have the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. What is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam? It does not mean that, okay, all the physical boundaries doesn't matter, and Germany is also our family and France is also our family. It doesn't mean that. That is a political definition. The real academic definition of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam is that whoever in the world, irrespective of race, caste, religion, nationality, whoever comes in your contact is your family. Anybody in this Vasudha, means on this earth, anybody who comes in your contact is your family. It does not mean that somebody living 10,000 miles away and you have no communication, no contact. How will you be family? Somebody you don't talk to, somebody you have no communication with, how will it be a family? You become a family only when you mutually help each other, when you live together. So anybody who comes in your contact, you treat that person as family, which means you cooperate. The Western definition of globalization was based on collaboration. Collaboration is a simple materialistic give and take. You give me technology, I'll give you money. That is collaboration. Cooperation is not that. Cooperation is, yes, I'll give you technology, you'll give me money, but in return, we'll have to ensure that it is also giving us happiness and prosper growth and peace, and also helping the society, your society as well as my society, your children as well as my children. It's not that you bring Coca-Cola and you bring McDonald's into my country, all my children are becoming valueless, they are becoming obese, they are becoming unhealthy, and we are saying, wow, 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 you are giving us FDI, and in return, we'll let you do whatever you want. That is collaboration. We have to stop this concept of collaboration, and the world has realized that we have to move towards cooperation, which again, the Sahyog is our concept. We were the first society in the world. If everybody says bad things about Manusmriti just because 1 or 2 things are there, but most of the Dharma Shastra of Manusmriti is based on cooperation. How society cooperates. You have different specialization, different varnas, different varna. But still, the different varna, different professions cooperate to keep the society together. That is the whole philosophy and the principle of Manusmriti, and not what these leftists and communists have told our younger generation. Then, the creativity, Rachna. With the creativity, if you see, the God has empowered every single human being on this earth with the power of creativity and imagination. Which is why we had a Gurukul system. Because the Guru ensured that your creativity becomes better, your imagination becomes better, and which is why we have been able to create such great texts and such great philosophies and the Vedas and the Ayurveda. Every possible science we have been able to create and imagine, but slowly after the Mughal invasion, everything started deteriorating, and slowly today we have reached a stage, we don't innovate, we are not creative. Creativity means to understand our own role in this whole cosmos. In Brahman, to understand what is Prakriti and what is Purush, what is our karma, and what is Prakriti and how we become one, that is the only idea about creativity. And today the whole world is debating and discussing what is the role of a human being in the scheme of this entire cosmos. And that is what meditation is all about. That is what Adhyatma is all about, to understand where we stand in this cosmos and slowly liberate ourselves from this and understand that we are that power. And in the end, I would like to tell you something which it is very important that the youth of this country in the new world, if we have to become Vishguru and we have to take leadership, has to understand in the fundamental philosophy, Hindu philosophy, which is called Tattvam Asi. The greatest of Indian philosophy is Tattvam Asi, means thou art that. You are that. You are the cosmos. You have the same energy as the cosmos, and cosmos is you. Your energy is equal to the energy of the cosmos. And you see what is modern quantum physics. The quantum physics also discovered the same thing, that the particle has the same energy which the total energy of the cosmos is. And which is why in the CERN Center in Switzerland, as you enter CERN, I've gone there, in front, the biggest statue is Shiva doing Tandava Nritya. The cosmic dance of Shiva, that statue is there in CERN, because the cosmic dance of Shiva is nothing but the principle of Tattvamasi, that particle, the smallest of the particle, has the power of the entire cosmos. And you see what is happening today. The smallest particle, this virus, today has the entire energy of the cosmos. And correct me if I'm wrong, I've been told by the scientists and the medical experts, if you take all the virus of the world, the total quantum of the virus, the total weight is less than 1 gram. So this virus, which is less than a fraction of a 1 gram, smallest of the particle, has the same energy as the cosmos. And that is where the great Indian philosophy of Shaivism, the great philosophy of Vedas, the great philosophy of Upanishad says, Tattvamasi, thou art that. I want every single young Indian to believe that you have the power exactly equal to the power of the cosmos, and it's totally in your hands. You don't have to feel weak. You don't have to feel that the governments are going to change the destiny of this country. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in the great ancient wisdom. Take it forward and make sure that in the new world, you don't have to say Bharat Mata ki Jai, but the entire world stands up in your honor to celebrate your wisdom and your power. And the whole world says Bharat Mata ki Jai. It is not America is the greatest country, but India is the greatest country. Isi baat pe I will finish with this discourse. I'm sorry, I promised to do only for half an hour, but it's extended. So very, very thank you to you. I hope if I have said something which is not factually correct or something, I'm sorry. Please correct me. I am like your younger brother. I am like part of your family. Don't go by the exact 1 gram or half gram. I don't know. Communist people will tomorrow take this out and say Vivek said 1 gram. It's actually 0.98 grams. So factually he's wrong. And they will print in wire and print something against me. And they'll say there's a fact check on me. So haath jod ke I am saying, please, I'm not a scientist, but I hope in the great Indian tradition, you'll try to understand my bhavana and you won't get lost in the superficial words. I wish all of you all the best. You are doing great work. May Ma Saraswati bless all of us so that you take this thought forward. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind, Jai Ma, Jai Saraswati.
Fantastic, Vivek ji. It was great. Your journey to rediscover the roots of Bharat and the place to which you have come just now, from being a Naxal yourself, as you yourself said, is a wonderful journey, and your experiences are something which are very, very crucial for the youngsters. What you have achieved is something should definitely inspire the younger generation in terms of looking at Bharat and its ancient wisdom. And hopefully we will have a generation which is waking up to the reality that we were the Vishwa Gurus and we will at some point in time again become the Vishwa Gurus. Fantastic. It was great, the walkthrough that you have done. Before I throw it open for a few questions, you spoke so much about Kashmir. So Ravindra Panditaji is also here. I'm just sharing a photograph of, this is the Shivling in Beach Bihara, which is Vijay Vihara, Beach Bihara, it's on the highway. It's a very unique Shivling, which has got about 11 Shivlings in there. The cosmic energies that you spoke about. So I thought I'd just share this before we start the Q&A. Thank you so much. Kashmir is very dear to me, and I've visited Kashmir umpteen number of times, and I've nook and corner of it I've seen. You kicked up a lot of emotions in me. Thank you, Vivek ji.
Thank you.
As it goes, we will ask Ravindra Pandita ji to open the evenings for us. But friends, I request all of you to kindly keep it very brief.
I'm sorry, I'll have to leave in 10-15 minutes. So let's just do 3-4 questions.
Yeah. That's the reason
Namaskar. I think
very brief. Yeah, thank you.
I have the privilege of having just 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, please. Pandita
You are a great filmmaker, sir, and we have a lot of expectations from you. Unlike the Shikara movie, sir, you are requested to kindly go into the intrinsic matters and see for yourself. It's not just to appease a section of the society and by hiding certain facts. We should go deep into the details and project the correctness of what has happened in Kashmir. It's a purely genocide, and this genocide of Kashmiri Pandits, whom we have blessings from Adi Shankaracharya ji himself, or the Sharda Desh.
Sure.
So you are kindly requested to make a movie which shows the correctness of the whole situation.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Yeah. I promise you I won't disappoint you. Please keep blessing me so that I have enough courage and power. I am trying to do my best. You know that the jihadis and communists don't want me to make this film, so they are opposing it. But I will fight. I'm a fighter. I will fight. I'll do whatever. I told them I'm not going to die without making this film, so you do whatever you can do.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Great. We are all with you, sir. I will share my inputs on every inch of Kashmir I've traveled. I'll share a lot of stuff with you. I don't have any patents or anything like that. You can kindly use them. I'll give you all the stuff that I have done. I've gone around. Krishnan ji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Namaste, Vivek ji. Very informative talk. Basically, I have two questions. First is, we are all, at least I can speak for myself, we are at the fringe of whatever is happening. And I consider you to be somewhat of an insider. At least you know things happening more than many of us here. So my question to you is really the revival that is happening after 70 years or so of suppression of our Sanathan thought. Do you really think there is a revival going on, or do you think that there are too many forces acting both on the north and the south and the east and the west? Where exactly are we? Are we still waiting for starting the revival, or we are in the middle of the revival, or what is your opinion?
See, yes, definitely the process of revival has begun at 2-3 levels. If people like me are fighting and risking their lives and doing things, I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people doing, maybe we don't know, a lot of people don't know them. I think it's happening at 2-3 levels. Number one, the world is taking note of us. People are recognizing. They are seeing value in Indian philosophy, Indian thinking, and that's why I centered my entire talk on that these are the things where the direction in which world is moving. So it is totally in the hands of the intellectuals like you to let the world know that these are our values. Like China, every time they say this is our value, we should copyright that and we should let the world know. So we need to write lots of papers, articles, elaborating like whatever I said today, this thought should be taken to various forums and various articles, social media posts and everything, immediately people should say that the world is thinking about simple living. The simple living is an Indian concept. It's Hindu philosophy. It's a Sanathan philosophy. Like that, the power of human being, that the power of the smallest unit, all these things, when we write and fill the universe with this thought, I think, yes, that process has started. But at the same time, I also want to tell you something. There's a big politics on one side. On social media, all these people who you do not know personally and who keep writing about Sanathan and Hinduism and this and that, you need to be a bit careful about that. Because I know it for sure that most of them are planted by Pakistan, planted by jihadis, planted by Naxalites. They call themselves Sanathan. They'll make friends with you. You'll retweet them. They will do that. And that's how they're extracting your data, and they understand what our strategy is. If you read somebody's tweet for a long time, you'll understand what this person's strategy is, who his friends are. So, like, for example, you are doing, just I am doing suppose I'm making film on Kashmir. I realized, I was told by the police also, and I realized that the people I was following, so many people thinking that they are from Indian philosophy, so many people I thought were from RSS, actually were not from RSS, they had just written RSS. But actually they were Naxalites. They want to know who I reply to, who do I talk to, what am I doing, which direction I'm going. And that's how they are keeping, with the help of artificial intelligence, they are keeping a track on what we are doing. So please don't get tempted just for few RTs or likes or for this thing. Don't get tempted. Second thing is, do not engage with all these people on social media. People you do not know, do not reply to them. Trust me on this. This can really cost us very, very dearly, and we are going through very, very troubled times because the world is realizing that because China is going to be in trouble, most of the world is not going to do business with them in terms of socio-cultural, political, economic. India is going to emerge as a big, very big this thing. We have a strong leader also at the helm of the affairs. So not just the red terrorist, which is from the east. You must have noticed in last few days what's happening at the China border. They are trying to create some sort of a pressure tactics so that to engage us in that war. On the other hand, the entire Islamic terror money is filtering into India. In these troubled times also, you see day before Pulwama-like attack was going to happen. So be very careful. Try to do things in closed forums. Use more WhatsApp groups. Use more email groups. But try to avoid places like Twitter and this thing, because Twitter, they will force you into look like a negative person. See, the strategy of the West is to corner you and convert you into a social media Muslim basher. Once you become a Muslim basher, then they tell the entire West, because of the Islamophobic policy of the entire West, look at this person, he is bashing Muslim, he's an Islamophobic, and you will be debarred from some of the best forums. It has happened against me at Rutgers University by Audrey Trush, that lady who writes against Hindu philosophy. It happened with me in Columbia University. It happened with me in Purdue University, happened with me in Oxford University. All these jihadi students go and say in this tweet they have written Muslim. So avoid writing all these words. Don't do that. Talk about the strengths of India. Talk about the greatness of Hindu culture and civilization. Fill this entire universe with the greatness rather than focusing on something. It's a political trap. Please understand, it's a political trap. What happened recently? A lot of Islamic countries got worried that in India, why it is happening. They trapped us. They don't want us to be internationally successful. And this is research-based. I'm not saying just as an opinion. It is proven research-based that we are going through a cyber war. It's an info war. We will survive COVID war, but it's going to be very difficult for us to survive this info war because the entire artificial intelligence, algorithms, everything is with them. If they can do it to American president, they definitely will do to us. So be careful. I'm not saying stop it, but be careful. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, fantastic. We'll take a couple of questions from youngsters.
Yeah.
Romy, please go ahead. Make it fast. Yeah, Romy.
Vivek Ranjanji, Pranam. I wanted to ask, where is the role of Dalits come in the propagation of Naxal education or Naxal ideologist or communist ideologist? Where do Dalits form part of the game? Are they used for vote banks, or a further is it a further web of activity? Thank you.
I will very quickly like to tell you something. I was giving a lecture at Purdue University last year. One scholar, Akshay Jaju, is a very good boy, and he's connected with Seva Bharati. So he told me one of the inventors of internet came to their university to give a lecture. And he was saying that how much money they are investing into different countries in promoting technology and artificial intelligence. And so he said, sir, you have mentioned all the countries, why you have not mentioned India? Because India, you see, as far as IT is concerned, we are the most empowered country in the world. So why aren't you investing money in India? He said, we are not investing in India because it's a policy that India has a caste discrimination. Now, this is a sheer propaganda which was created by, in collaboration with the communist people and the Western world. So I started working on that, and I said I need some young boys and girls to do some research. We collected a lot of data. And we found out, if somebody is interested, I can really help you guys and you can publish it in various places. I found out if the index of caste discrimination, which means the oppression of Dalits in 15th August 1947, if it was 100, which means 100% of the Dalits were oppressed, exploited, or there was a caste discrimination. If I ask you, I'm asking you also, what would it be today after 70 years? Universally, people by common sense says, okay, it must have come down from 100 to 15, 20, 25. Which means we have been as a country, as a society, not by country, laws not, society. As a society, we have been able to reduce the oppression of lower caste by 75-80%. From 100, we have brought it down to 20. And this is the most successful social re-engineering in the history of humanity. America has not been able to do it with blacks. In UK, they have not been able to do. In France, in Germany, nowhere people have been able to do. Forget that, even in Islamic countries, they have not been able to do between Shia-Sunni divide and other divides. But we have done it. We are one of the rare countries which has laws. It's written in constitution, we have laws. Every government department has to have reservations. We have come long way, but because the education system was with communists and these people, they kept telling us that nothing has been done, and our minds have got conditioned that instead of telling the positive story of reform, we still became victims of understanding the persecution of our own intellectual thought, and we believe that yes, we are guilty about doing this. No, we should be proud of doing such social re-engineering. That's how we have to change the conversation. That's how we have to change the story. And because these people know the money is being pumped in, they wanted to create a Dalit Islamic bloc. They started with Rohit Vemula. They have done with many cases. They wanted to create a Dalit Islamic bloc. The only way you can break the Hindu unity is by breaking Dalits away. If the percentages are clear, you know that. That's why Bhima Koregaon, you saw whatever happened. But we also keep quiet. This young boy has asked a brilliant question, but we also keep quiet. Instead, we should start talking about the role of Dalits in modern India. Make a list. Pragya Bharati should sponsor this. You should support young boys, and this young boy, I forgot his name. You should take initiative.
Romi. He's from Assam, actually. He's from Assam.
Okay, Romi, make a list of all the great Dalit people who have contributed to the growth of India in modern India in last 30 years. Don't go back in the history. You say in the last decade, what is the role of Dalits? This politics of Dalit Islamic bloc is about 15, 20-year-old. So you also make in 15, 20-year-old to counter them and say you are wrong. This is the thing. You do your own research and say Dalits are not interested in joining Islamic bloc. It's only in social media, in television news channels, only in these political discourses and literature festivals they talk about. They want to keep this discourse alive. They all the times want to keep talking about it, so that all the books say that. I personally was involved, we fought a fight in California education books. I'm sure you must be aware of it. There are 3 chapters. Christianity, they said it's about love and compassion. Islam, they said it is about calligraphy, it's about architecture, the great music and the great poetry. Imagine. And the 3rd chapter was Hinduism, and they showed a Brahmin with a choti on his head, and they said that Hinduism is about exploitation of Dalits. Then we fought, finally they had to withdraw those books last year. It was a great victory, and most of the RSS people were involved in that. So as a young boy, my advice to you would be, I would have done it, but I'm very busy with other things, and you should take over from here. Young people should take over the work we are doing. Start writing about it, let people know. We have to take all our Dalit brothers and sisters into confidence. They have to understand we stand with them. We are not against them. These people want to tell them and break them away from us. Don't fall into that trap.
Great. We'll just take another 5 minutes, Vivek ji.
Yeah, I've told them 6:30 to Z. People are waiting for me. I have to make the film also.
I can understand. Just a couple of more questions and we'll close it. I'm just taking one question from Facebook. They say, given the situation, what is the nationalist students' role in identifying these urban Naxals? And well, academicians themselves are, trying to masquerade as rightist academicians. So
you don't have to identify them. They are writing letters every day. 600 people writing letters, 800 people writing letters. Just take those names. They are all Urban Naxals. You will know that. So don't worry about it.
Great. So then we'll take another youngster, Sridhar ji. Please go ahead. Yeah,
Vivek ji, namaskar.
This
is an extension of the question from Romy. The inversion logic is there is a specific strategy to malign Brahmins. In a way, the leftists come with Brahmanical thought or a Brahmanism, as if the Brahmins are the villains of Hinduism. Hinduism actually per se belongs to Dalits, but the Brahmins are the one who maligned everything. They take over everything, and they are the one who made all the the sins that whatever the wrong things that happen.
Can you be very precise?
They are the responsible one.
Yeah.
So how do we, in a very narrative way, in a very ideological way, how to counter this Brahmanical thought or Brahmanism, which has it made it as if something kind of very kind of So how to counter?
Fair enough. Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
So this is one question I've been asked many times. I mean, in all literature festivals, forums, people ask me, they try to trap you. See, it's a very easy way to trap you. Don't fall into this trap. So my reply, I'll tell you what I give them. I tell them, okay, I am a Brahmin. Tell me one thing, if I don't have money in my pocket, can I fly business class? If I don't have money in my pocket, can I enter a restaurant or a hotel? If I don't have money in my pocket, can I get admission into a big school or college? So who is the real Brahmin today? The real Brahmin is the person who has got money in his pocket. That is the person who's exploiting everybody else. A poor Brahmin is also exploited by a rich person. A poor Dalit is also exploited by a rich person. A big corporation exploits poor corporation. So do not try to trap me into this Brahmin and Dalit argument. All you have to understand in today's time, the real Brahmin is the person who has got the power. Anybody who's with power. So your fight should be against the people who have power. So let's start with the power. Okay, who controls education? You. So you are the power. You are exploiting my young Indian fellows. Who holds the media? You. So who's exploiting me information-wise? Who's giving me wrong news, wrong information every day? Who controls all these websites? You. Who controls the entire social media? Mr. Jack Dorsey, who came and wrote about. So you are the powerful people. You Naxalites are the powerful. Who has got guns? You. Who is damaging schools? You. Who is destroying hospitals in Bastar and all these Naxal areas? You. Who is putting bombs in cars and blowing up innocent people in Kashmir? You. You have the power. Who's running Bollywood? You. You have the power. You are the real Brahmins of the modern world. You are the oppressors. You are the exploitators. You are exploiting poor middle class Indian youth. So you are the guilty. You should be held responsible, and therefore you are answerable, not me. You tell me, why are you exploiting me? This is how you should trap them.
Fantastic. We'll take one last question from a woman and then we close it. Shilpi Mohanji, please go ahead. Yeah. Dr. Shilpi Mohan.
One simple question. In this area of so much negativity in social media, please suggest 3 things we should do to turn it into the wave of positivity. Can you, because you are into Hindu philosophy, have you ever thought that Kalki Avatar is going to come during this COVID period?
I'll tell you the strategy. I don't work out of whims and fancies. I do not just sit down and say, okay, I have to say this, I have to write that, today's weather is cold. Yes, I do all poetic and everything kind of tweets and posts and Instagram. I do everything with a very long-term strategy. And so I am working on a strategy, and I've said it in 100 speeches. I say it all the time. The other day also, when I was talking to Subramaniam Swamiji, I said the same thing. But before that, as far as Kalki is concerned, see, the Saraswati Durga is here. So I am working with a very senior, the head of management department of one of the world's best management departments in Purdue University. I am working with him on, in fact, I did recently a live chat with them. You can go to I Am Buddha YouTube page, and there is Professor Alok Chaturvedi, Dr. Alok Chaturvedi, and he advises American government on strategic defense strategies. We did on Durga Saptashati and cyber warfare. I am working very closely with him. We are developing a web series on this concept, that how the messaging of Durga Saptashati can actually, we can fight the cyber warfare. So yes, I'll tell you a lot about all that later. But I'll tell you what the strategy should be. We are going through a massive info war. And we are so far losing info war, not on the ground, we are losing it in the digital world. Now everything is based on algorithm. You will find, even if you follow me on Twitter, you can't see my tweets because I'm shadow banned. Like me, lots and lots of great ideologues and thinkers are shadow banned. Today, India is being perceived in the Western world as regressive, Islamophobic nationalists who lynch people. People with no scientific temper who drink cow urine. This is a general perception which is created about us. I'll tell you where we are going wrong. We are always in a reactionary mode and we are trying to defend this argument. We are trying to prove, instead they say cow urine, we say no, why cow urine is good? And we keep the conversation alive. That's exactly what they want. They exactly want that. They want you to say, no, I'm a nationalist. You don't have to say all the times I'm a nationalist. Keep doing nationalist things. I'll tell you, strategically, trust me, I have a good, you can't challenge my strategic acumen. I am telling you how the modern information warfare works. It works by certain keywords. You have to use their keywords, Aapne dekha in Mahabharat, Ramayana, they shoot one arrow, that arrow goes, they use the same arrow and they throw it back at you. You have to use their keywords and throw it back at them. So you have to, if you really are serious, not just attending webinars and just going to conferences, it's time for action. In last 6 years, I tell, if there are young people, not to inspire you, but tell you how you can change the narrative slowly by doing things. A, you have to have products. Without products, no discourse can be changed, no ecosystem can be created. Everything else is gossip, is just discussing, it reaches nowhere, it's like WhatsApp discussion, and in the end, it has got no value. A, create products. I'll tell you what I did in the last 6 years. I made 2 films, third one is already in the making. Buddha in a Traffic Jam, where I expose the Naxals, leftist education system. I made Tashkent Files, where I exposed the Congress's politics of selling this country to communists. I'm making Kashmir Files, where I'm exposing the jihadi plot against India, civilizational war against India. We made Bharat Ki Baat with Pallavi ji, my wife, where 26-part series, it's on I Am Buddha YouTube channel, you can see it, where we spoke only about the greatness of India, nothing negative, only the greatness of India, right from Vedic times till the modern times till today. We have made so many series on about the greatness of India. I wrote a book, Urban Naxals. Now my next book is coming. It's called India for Sale. I have given more than 1,000 speeches going from college to college, university to university, whether it's raining, heat, summer, winter, I have done that. I have written more than 1,000 articles and columns in last 6 years. I write like 2-3 columns, articles for various people every day. And I have from 0 followers, without any support, I have emerged as one of the strongest social media voices. I have worked with a strategy. That's why, because I have products, I get platform to go and speak at Oxford, at Cambridge, and change the perception about India. My book, Urban Naxals, alone has got 5-6 people behind the bars. So I tell young people, don't just write on Twitter and go away. If you have written 1,000 tweets, compile them, convert them into articles. From articles, write 100 articles, convert them into books. If nobody is publishing a book, come to me, Vivek Agnihotri will publish your book. And I have mentored more than 1,000 young boys and girls, converted them into social media warriors, and today they are doing good stuff under I Am Buddha Foundation. Now from tomorrow, I am starting School of Creativity, and our ambition, our objective is to mentor, finance, and empower 1,000 committed Indians to become creative genius, creative entrepreneurs. I will prove it in the field of art, literature, poetry, all these things, because liberals always say that you don't have intellectuals, you have nothing to do with art, you don't know about modern poetry, painting, you guys just do Hindu Rashtra, Hindu Rashtra. I'll prove them wrong, because we are the most creative societies in the world. The only problem is our work is not recognized. I will ensure, I'll fight for it. And therefore, I tell young people, before you sleep, if you are a true nationalist, in my eyes, you are not a nationalist if you do not do the following for next 5 years. Only one sutra, only 1 point program. Before sleeping, every single night on social media, write something about the greatness of India. That's it. Fill this universe with so much of greatness about India, so much of positivity. Become a marketing person like America, despite being the most rotten, shallow, hollow, destructive society of the world. Whatever is happening in the world today is because Western lifestyle, Western practices. We are suffering because of them today. Their greed, their materialistic imperialism. We are innocent people are suffering. Look at the way people are losing jobs. People are suffering in the world because of them, their ambition and greed. But they kept writing, America is great, America is great, America is great, America is great. The whole world started believing they are great. India is actually great, but nobody talks about it. Write about the sacrifice of a mother. Write about the sacrifice of Indian families. Write how our society is so close-knit, and write why. Give them reason why, when greatest of the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the Mongolian Empire, everybody has perished. Only Hindu civilization has survived. Tell them why we have survived. Find out the greatest.
Awesome, Vivek ji. That's fantastic. I think the kind of positivity you have given is just amazing. We'll just close it with a formal vote of thanks for less than half a minute. Chandrasekhar ji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Namaste, Vivek ji. Namaste, Vivek ji. I consider myself lucky for having the opportunity to listen to you on live for the second time. First time was when you visited Bahadur College in Hyderabad, your book launch of Urban Naxals, and second time is now. Sir, it was this session has been excellent, sir. It's re-energizing totally. As usual, your talk is informative, inspiring, and encouraging, sir. You've actually reminded the need to tap into the dynamism of youth as they have the potential to disrupt the inertia and be the most creative force for social change. It's excellent, sir. And we do understand from your talk that we need to encourage youth to work for society, to spread good values, good manners, good emotions, positivity, and sense of responsibility. And you also touched on the concept of Tattvamasi. Excellent. We definitely took the note of it, sir. And initially, you started off by quoting us as the best people you have ever met. We thank you so much for that, sir. And you also mentioned that intellectuals should be with values, not just being intellectuals. We have been, and we are, and we will be, sir. We promise you. We maintain that. We keep our organization going in the same positive way. Thank you so much for reminding all of that. And actually, thank you so much for accepting invitation, sparing time. Yeah, and also, sir, this is my copy of your book, Urban Naxals, which is autographed by you, sir. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, audience, as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And we will close it by saying the glorious words to our mother, Bharat. Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Jai Hind.
Bharat Mata ki Jai.
Thank you.